Lafayette, Indiana. The man touched me, and I think he's going to do the same thing for you guys this evening.
Hey guys, I'm an addict named Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Give all thanks to a power greater than myself that allowed me to become something I once really, really resented. I've been showered with grace and mercy to be where I am at. Is there anybody that's got less than 90 days in the room? Can you please show of hands? Anybody's got 90 days? I got to tell you guys, nothing turned out the way that I thought it was going to turn out. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But nothing turned out the way that I thought it was going to turn out. You know, when we get clean, one of the first things they tell us is that if you were to make a list of goals or aspirations, things you would become in recovery, when you first get here, you would sell yourself short. Right. And we don't even have to get complicated about it. If we just talk about sanity, health, family, relationship, you know, I didn't have it that much. To hope for that would have been a big aspiration at the time. Right. And that's more than what I ever got. But the good news is we keep it real simple in Narcotics Anonymous. We say the message is hope and the promise is freedom. That's it. The message is hope and the promise is freedom. In our basic text, the word hope is used well over 100 times. Now, I'm not so dedicated that I actually did that. You can do that pretty easily these days with a computer. But the point is that that's how essential a concept that is in Narcotics Anonymous. That hope is used as a word over 100 times just in our basic text alone. Who knows about the other literature? But there's a lot of good news for you if you're new. A lot of good news. The first piece of good news is that if you're asking yourself whether or not you ever have, whether or not you're ever going to use again, if you're asking yourself, whether or not you're going to stay clean for the rest of your life, I've got great news for you. That's irrelevant, guys. Right. That's irrelevant. You don't have to worry about that today. It is not for us to sit here and say, I'm never going to use again for the rest of my life. Frankly, that's none of my business, whether or not I'm going to use for the rest of my life. I have no control over the rest of my life. That's an unreasonable and unmanageable concept. There's nothing I'm going to agree to doing for the rest of my life right now other than staying with my wife and maybe paying my mortgage. That's it. That's all I'm going to agree to right now. If you had told me when I walked into the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous that I was agreeing to stay clean for the rest of my life, guys, I'd have left. I wasn't in for that. The only reason I came and I didn't come to Narcotics Anonymous with hope. I came into Narcotics Anonymous with an earlier version of hope called desperation. This is an unevolved form of hope. Right. Desperation. You come in and it's just, oh my God, I'm so done. Whatever you say. Remember that? That's whatever you say. Because at first there's some, before you've really gotten to the point where you're done. And you have some, well, I might do this. I might be willing to do that. I don't know. I could do that. And then at some point we hit the true meaning of the first step. Whatever you say. I'm done, man. I'm done. I don't know what I'm doing. I agree. I will agree to go to bed tonight clean. That's what I'm working on. So that's the first piece of good news if you're new, is that you do not have to agree to stay clean for the rest of your life. The other piece of that is that, guys, but you can. But you can stay clean for the rest of your life if you want to. But you don't have to agree to anything now. Don't worry about it. Forget about it. But you can. You never have to use again, man. You never have to use again. It's the most important thing anybody ever told me, and they told it to me at my first meeting when I was high. When I was high. That's the other good news. You don't have to be clean to come to Narcotics Anonymous. This is how we will help you get there. If you are high in this room, I am so glad you're not high somewhere else. If you haven't figured out how to stay clean without Suboxone or methadone, I'm so glad you haven't figured that out in this room. And if you feel like that's your clean time and that's between you and your higher power, I'm not interested in trying to tell you you're not clean. If you have a desire to stay clean, a desire to stop using, I am so glad you're here, man. I came to my first meeting loaded out of my mind, terrified that I was going to get caught for having been high. I didn't think I was supposed to be high in an NA meeting. And when they started to do the key tags, I was terrified because I thought the white key tag was for people who were clean. And I'm so glad that the white key tag is for 0 to 29 days because I got to pick up my 0-day key tag. And I've been here ever since. And if you had made that a 1-day key tag, I'm not sure I would have come to a second meeting. And the reason I'm in NA, and I say it, we talk, I'm a drunk. And I'm in NA because I got clean when I was 20 years old. And the first meeting they brought me to in rehab was an NA meeting. Now, I don't know the difference between NA, AA, LMNOPA. I don't know the difference between any of these things, right? I'm high and I'm in rehab. So they brought me to a meeting, and you guys said, what you say is, my name is Brian and I'm an addict. So that's what I said. And then the next night they brought me to another meeting. It was just the wrong fellowship. I didn't know there was differences. So when I went in and I said, my name is Brian and I'm an addict, I got like lynched by old white dudes who got all mad at me, right? Who were like, that's not what you say, and this and that, and what do you mean, and what did you do? And he said, I spilled more than you drank. And I was like, you are so clumsy then. No idea. And so the reason that I've been in NA this whole time is because you guys welcomed me. I mean, it's not like you made it sunshine and rainbows. You gave me a little hard time because I needed it. But you didn't, tell me I didn't belong.
Right.
You didn't say that to me when I got here. And I got news for you. No matter what you used, if you never did heroin, if you never did crack, you still belong in Narcotics Anonymous. I'm not here because of what I used. I'm here because I was bad at it. I'm here because no matter what it is that I think I like, I will run it into the ground and destroy myself in the passionate, overzealous, obsessive hunt for more, man, more. It's got to be more. That's why I'm here. The other good news for you, if you're new, is that going to bed clean is the only thing you have to agree to. That's it. Just go to bed. If you've got like none days clean, I'm so not concerned if you work a first step today. That's cool, man. That is cool. It says easy does it, right? It says it. It will come to us. We will be given opportunities to do our step work. So that's cool. If the only thing you're hoping, we're still in desperation. If the only thing you're desperate to do is stay clean, right on. We got that covered. We can help you with that. And here's the magic secret that we seem to forget when we get a little time under our belt. The big secret of how we stay clean when we're new. We don't, man. We help each other stay clean. That's what the whole thing is about. When we reach the point where we say, I get it, whatever you say, that's when we actually make the phone call on the back of the meeting directory. That's when we actually say, oh my God, I'm about to use. I have no other recourse. I'm going to call somebody and see what happens. Remember, you didn't even know what they were going to do the first time you called. I didn't know I decided to use. I decided to go back out. I wasn't having a using urge. I had a using decision. I was going to get high. And I didn't call the people who said, call me if you feel like using. I called this guy, Lou, who said, just let me know when you're leaving. And I got on the phone with Lou, and he just started babbling at me about blah. I don't even know, man. He's like, oh, I'm working on a mural, and I'm wondering about the brush, and blah, blah, blah. And here's self-centered me thinking, listen, old man, stop. I don't care about your stupid mural. I am going to use. I'm leaving. And I got really mad. And he said, you sound like you're angry. I said, I am. And he said, yeah, but do you want to get high anymore? And I was like, oh, so sneaky. So sneaky. So that was the first time I found out that all you have to do is distract me with something shiny or make me rage for a second. And I can get past the using urge. I don't actually have to use. We talk so much about the things we must never do, right? We say we must never use no matter what, and we have to do this, and we have to do that, we have to do that. But that's not what this is about. That's not why we're here. I didn't stay in Narcotics Anonymous because I want to walk along like I'm in a chain gang doing all the drudging things I have to do to stay clean. I want to talk about the hope. I want to talk about the things that I get to do. That I get to do. These are the benefits, right? It's not that I can't use anymore, guys. It's that I don't want to. I don't wanna. That happened one day. One day I woke up and realized, follow me for a second. I woke up and realized that the day before I had not thought about using the entire day. But I hadn't noticed that I hadn't thought about it until the day after. That's freedom. That's freedom. I didn't even know that I didn't have the urge. It was finally so distant from my life that I could go a day without having an urge and not even realize it wasn't there. That was the freedom that came from it. That's amazing. That's an amazing feeling. Is it you being in the room that makes me lose my train of thought? How do you do that? I don't know. I don't know how you do that. What was I talking about? You have to tell me now. See, you weren't even listening. Unbelievable. That's why you're here. The day before. Thank you very much. I'm here because of the things I get to do, not because of the things I have to do. I don't have to use anymore, man. I don't have to use anymore. I get to stay clean. I get to become a husband, a father, a son, a better man. I get to live because of Narcotics Anonymous. These are all the things I get to do. I'm not sitting around obsessing, clenching my fists and white-knuckling it, wondering about when it is the next time I get to get high. That's not my hope anymore. That's not a part of my process anymore. These are all the amazing things that happen. It's a trick. We say the message is hope and the promise is freedom. That's what we say. The only promise is freedom from active addiction. What they don't tell you is that then you get to become an amazing human being. You have an opportunity to be everything that my higher power ever expected me to be or wanted me to be. All of a sudden, this manifests on its own. It's amazing the things that we're capable of. It's amazing the good things that we get in recovery as a result of it. And there's somewhere in our literature that talks about hope turns to faith and faith turns to trust, right? Hope is when you're really not sure it's going to happen, but you really hope it does, right? I would really like it if this happened. Faith is when you're pretty sure it's going to happen because it's happened before. Trust is when you believe beyond a shadow of a doubt. You believe with such certainty that you would never question it for a second. There's no doubt in your mind that it will happen. And we have this in our life. If you question it, they exist. It exists. We have absolute trust in certain things we would never question. What would happen if I dropped this book?
Hit the floor.
How do you know? It just does, guys. It just does. Now, if I let go of this book and it floated, that would blow your craniums, right? That would blow your mind. That would be crazy, right? Especially, I thought about it too, pretending there was, or doing a little thing and trying to get somebody to believe, right? That if I drop this book, it's not going to fall. If I drop this book, it's going to fall. It always will. It always will. I don't have to wonder about it, think about it, question it, guess it. The crazy part is when I do. The crazy part is that after I've earned the trust and that Narcotics Anonymous has made my life so good that I can get so self-centered and so convinced of my intelligence that I will start questioning whether or not this book will fall. God will take care of me. This I believe. Maybe not the way I want. Maybe things won't go the way I expect them to. Maybe I'm not going to work in the same place in a year. Maybe my mom's going to pass away. Maybe all sorts of bad things are going to happen. But they're only bad at the moment. Bad things can be blessings too. I just don't know it at the time because I'm upset. But the amazing thing is, and this is the same as, for me, a belief in a higher power, a power greater than myself. Here's another, more good news for new people. If you don't understand the steps of Narcotics Anonymous, I promise you're not alone. There's a whole room full of people in here that don't understand the steps of Narcotics Anonymous. They work. They work whether we get them or not. They work. My car, an internal combustion engine, does anybody even, I don't know what that means. All I know is I get in the car, I turn the key, or now, fancy days, I get to push the button, and the car goes. Right? I trust that the car will go. And I don't have to understand how the engine works for the car to make my life better. That's the same thing as these steps. I don't have to understand the intricate machinations of the sixth step for the sixth step to work in my life. All I have to do is do it. Keep it simple. That's all I have to do. Somebody will tell me to do something and I'll do it. When my broken brain kicks in and starts telling me I got a better idea, that's when I run into the danger zone. Right? That is a very heavy bag.
Thank you.
When I start questioning, here's the thing. The good news is, if you're new, is that if you don't believe in God, that's cool too. That's cool too. If you're a complete atheist, if you think you will never believe in God, these steps will still work. These steps will still work. Religion or lack of religion. We say that right in our readings. When people come in and we say, well, if you don't have God, this isn't going to work. God works. And if my belief in God may not work for everybody else. But the fact of the matter is, anybody that works these steps can get clean. Anybody can work these steps. And there is no rule about what a higher power can be. This higher power absolutely can be this fellowship. This higher power absolutely can be people outside of ourselves. The reason the second step is so important, guys, is because it makes us look outside ourselves and acknowledge the fact that I am not the smartest guy in the room. That maybe I don't know what to do next. that maybe I shouldn't listen to my own decision process because it has hosed me over and over again. That's what the second step is about. And that will naturally evolve into whatever higher power becomes a part of each one of our lives, whatever that may be. Whether you call that God or higher power or the spiritual principles of the fellowship itself, whatever that may be, the fellowship is a higher power. You know, someone asked me, my sponsee texted me and he said, "What would you do if somebody asked you to work the steps with you, but he says he's never going to go to meetings?" I don't think it doesn't work that way, right? Because what happens is we get a little time under our belts, or maybe somebody knew, because it sounds like he was getting this too. We don't help each other because it's, noble and great. We help each other because it keeps us well, right? The point is that if we're so self-centered that we refuse to help somebody else, we'll never get better, because helping someone else is the only thing that will get us well. We are social creatures. You've seen that years ago. They talked about, you take a baby monkey and you put him in a cage with a fake mom, and that monkey grows up to be a complete lunatic, right? Because there's no social interaction, no skills, no affection, no connection with another living creature. We require that. You guys remember what happened to Tom Hanks in the volleyball, right? Wilson? So desperate for contact that he's going to make, a handprint on a volleyball. That's his other person. We have to be together. We require each other to interact and to survive. The scary part is that when these things that we've learned to trust, the things that we know to be facts from Narcotics Anonymous, when we get into a bad place, the reason this disease works so good is the first thing we'll do is we'll question everything we knew once to be true. It's the creepiest thing in the world. When I'm mad at somebody, right, I don't make them cease to exist. I don't decide that they're gone, that they never existed, that I was mistaken to even believe they ever lived. But that's what I do to God. When I'm mad at God, that's where I go. This is supposed to be the most important relationship in my life, but when I'm mad at him, I erase him from existence. You know what? There's no God. Forget it. You're dead to me. Whatever. How have you abandoned me? And this idea, and I know I'm veering slightly off hope, but this is something that's been so important to me lately, is that my higher power has changed so much since I've been in recovery. So much. It's changed constantly. And that's fine, because that's what it's supposed to do. And I have found that I've been most happy in recovery with this understanding of my higher power that I have no idea. I haven't the foggiest idea. Whatever it is you think God is, you're probably right. I'm probably wrong, or we're all wrong. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is, and I'm never going to know whatever it is. It's not important. What's important is that I do my part. And that when I do my part, the whole point of the steps is that if I do my best and reach as far as I can reach, whatever that higher power is, that force, that source, whatever it is, it's going to cover the difference. It'll close the gap. If you're new, you have to know that you can do anything in Narcotics Anonymous. You can grow to be whatever you want, whatever it is you think you wanted to be. I never thought I was going to be anything. I am a walking yet. I am a walking yet in Narcotics Anonymous. It is so easy for my disease to tell me that I shouldn't be here. It's so easy, right? Look at how square I look. I got the wife, the house, the kids, the car, the job, all that stuff. I have all that stuff, right? I drank. I didn't do this myriad of drugs that are available. That's what I did. That was my thing. Not so bad, right? I quit when I was 20. The first time I did anything was October 31st, 1992, and the last time I did anything was June 16th, 1997. That's less than 5 years. I have 16 years clean. I've been clean 3 times longer than I used. Maybe it wasn't so bad. This is the case that it builds against me. This is the case that it builds against me to get me out of this room. Especially when I've been to places where I told them that I got clean when I was 20, and they're like, "Oh, I barely even started. Holy cow, that's not so bad." I'm like, "Shh, dude, that's not cool, man." You know what I mean? Because I've seen so much of I don't have to stay in Narcotics Anonymous. I choose to stay in Narcotics Anonymous. I don't have to go to meetings. I choose to go to meetings. I'm happy here. My life is better because I'm here. My life is better because of the people I've met in the rooms. Yes, even the ones that are still using. Yes, even the ones that I think are sick. And if I bother to go out of my way to judge the hell out of them, yes, even those people too. Everybody here has made me a better person as a result of being in Narcotics Anonymous. If I leave, that all goes with it. That all goes with it. And with 16, I remember somebody new in a meeting saying, I hope to God I don't have 16 years clean. I'm still coming to this goddamn church basement. And I said, brother, I hope you do. It's not so bad. It's not so bad. The entrance price is pretty heavy, but once you're here, it's not so bad. The hope is that, okay, let me tell you the difference between desperation and hope. Desperation is what gets us moving away from the awful. Hope is what grabs us and pulls us towards the good. So there's a space in between where it converts into something better, something good and pure, where we stop looking at ourselves as miserable people who are just barely getting by. You know, I did an 8th step with my sponsor a couple months ago. There's nobody on it. And I thought I did it wrong, and I talked a lot about it to a lot of people. Guys, there's nobody on my 8th step. Because I finally got to a point where I'm not a piece of crap. I'm not doing stupid stuff all the time. You know what I mean? I live a 10th step, and I don't leave things to fester until I got to put them on an 8th step. I don't want to go through that process. I'll just admit it now. Let me just get it out of the way. That's the point of 10, you know? But there's no one on my 8th step. Anybody that I owed something to, I've given it to them, or they're still there from the list I made before, waiting for the opportunity. Because God will decide how I get to make those amends. I don't always get to decide how that comes out. But it gets to a point where we stop saying, I don't deserve to be here. You know, the only thing that kept me here was grace and mercy. Guys, it's okay to say you put in some work. It's totally okay. It's totally okay to say that I worked my butt off to get here. Grace and mercy got me clean, but I'm the one that went to college. You know, I'm the one that did the homework. I'm the one that took care of the kids and went to school and went to my job. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. Somebody said that earlier today, and I'm glad that they did. We don't shine bright enough in Narcotics Anonymous. It's like we feel bad. I swear to God, I feel guilty saying that I got a college degree. You know what I mean? Like, it's bad to say that we've done good things as a result of our recovery. But if we don't tell new people how good it gets, we're not really carrying the full message. That I came in here at 20 years old, barefoot, ringworm, you know what I mean? Lit my head on fire with a bottle of grain alcohol, all creepy looking like Phantom of the Opera. I came in here a man-child with no capacity to function or feel. I came in here less than a man, not really more than a boy, with no future and no potential and no going nowhere. And I came in here with awful mental health issues, guys. We're here too, just in case you feel alone. We're here too. I had mental health problems way before I started using. I was cutting my wrist open and going to the mental hospital way before I started using. I started using because that was a solution to the mental health problems. That's why I started using. It just stopped working. And when I got clean, I did have a pink cloud and it was great, but sooner or later I had to deal with those problems too. They came back. And I struggle with that and I still have to deal with it. But I'm still here, I'm still clean. I thought I'd be dead at 23. And there's so many yets. I've been arrested twice. There's plenty more arrests left for me. You know, I was, a middle-class suburban addict. There was a shower that I didn't use and a house I didn't go to. And, there was anything I needed, but it didn't matter because I just wanted to use. And I really thought that I wasn't going to be able to make anything out of my life. And my mother's family has served a good example for me. My grandfather smoked himself to death of emphysema. He died of emphysema. His wife quit smoking when he died, but it was too late. She spent 8 years on the tube, and then she died of emphysema. My mother's brother, Ray, drank so much he had what's called an esophageal varice. He burst an artery in the back of his throat, and he bled to death on his living room floor because as an addict, he's not going to the emergency room. And my mother, rest her soul, 2 years ago, with pneumonia, emphysema, cancer, and some superbug, also passed away as a result of this disease of addiction. And every once in a while, somebody will give me a cocked eyebrow when I mention smoking and the disease of addiction, but don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about. Because it's claimed my family, all of them. My brother still uses, my sister still uses. You know, so it's in my family. It's there. It's an example. I don't have to wonder if I'm an addict. I don't have to wonder. I have lots of people that I used to know in this fellowship that aren't here anymore because they became normal. Because they got clean, young like me, and they decided that they didn't need this anymore. They found that meetings were a burden. They forgot that the whole reason that we carry the message is to save ourselves. People say it's a selfish program. It's not. You hear that. People misquote and say it's a selfish program. It's not. Nowhere in our literature. As a matter of fact, our literature specifically says the opposite of that. This is not a selfish program. The point of carrying the message is that we get to be a part of the conduit, and the energy flows through us, and our lives are enhanced as a result of being a part of an unbreakable chain of recovery. If we separate from that, we get nothing. And we revert back to what we were and who we were. And we didn't like that person, or else we wouldn't have showed up here a long time ago and said, dude, I get it, I'm done. And we let ourselves get frustrated and exasperated because we try to help so many people. There's so many guys I know that try to sponsor, and the people don't stay clean. And they say, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? You're not doing anything wrong. That's not their time. Maybe they'll be back. You carry the message as best you can. It's the old story of the guy who's walking down the beach, and the tide had just gone out, and there's hundreds of starfish stranded on the beach, right? Hundreds of them. And as he's walking down the beach, he sees a kid off in the distance, and there's just a kid, and he's picking up the starfish, and he's chucking them into the ocean. Just one at a time, chucking them into the ocean. When he finally gets up to the kid, he says, kid, what are you doing? And the kid picks up a starfish and chucks it in the ocean. He says, I'm saving the starfish. And the guy looks up and down the beach at the hundreds of starfish on the beach, and he goes, why bother? It's not going to make any difference. And the kid picks up another starfish, and he chucks it, and he says, it mattered to that one. I was not supposed to stay clean. I know because people told me. I was not supposed to be a good person. I know because people told me. I'm one of those really, really hyper kids, right? I learned that adults act very differently when other adults aren't around. They're gonna show me. They're gonna teach me. They're gonna be the one to straighten me out. Creepy as hell. When other people's parents start doing the ear pinch and all this stuff, and you're like, whoa, hold on, dude. I don't even know you. I was never supposed to be anything, And now I'm more than I had ever hoped for. I'm more than I ever wanted. I never wanted any of this. I never agreed to this. I never knew it was going to turn out this way. I didn't want to be, 37 with 16 years clean and a 15-year-old kid who's never seen me high and a college degree, and I got a job, and then they made me, in charge, and then they gave me another department, which I haven't figured out how to do both yet, but I'm working on it. But they decided. I didn't ask. They asked me. I got an amazing wife. I got no business with a woman that good, but she's with me. She's with me, but this disease will take it all away. This disease will whisper in my ear and tell me that she doesn't love me, right? We were playing a game last night. She thought I didn't point something out to her, and she said, that was kind of shady. I lost my mind. How dare you convict me of such a low character that I would cheat? She's like, whoa, I didn't say cheat. You said shady? She's like, are you accusing me of accusing you of cheating? And I was like, wait a minute, this is going off the rails, man. This is going off the rails. But I know my wife loves me. I know my wife thinks highly of me. But the disease will tell me whatever it needs to say to get me just that much closer to deciding I don't belong here anymore. I got great news, guys. If you're new, probably nothing I've said about me applies to you. You're going to have your own path, your own story. It's going to be completely cockamamie. It's not going to be what you expected. And the great news is it doesn't matter. You don't have to get high over it. Whatever the case may be, whatever amazing person you haven't turned into yet, you don't have to get high. And as a result, you get to become that person. I still don't know what I'm doing. I giggle. Internally, I giggle anytime somebody says, I'm working towards balance. It's been 16 years, man. I haven't figured it out. I haven't figured it out. But no matter what happens, I found out 2 weeks ago that my mother, when she was 19 years old, gave up a baby. That I have a half-sister named Sandy, who I always thought was my mother's cousin. That's what we were taught. My great uncle, follow me now, it's getting twisty. My great uncle adopted my half-sister. And we were really excited about that. And we were really looking forward to having a happy reunion. And then I Googled her. And she killed her husband. Wow. And she killed her daughter. And she got away with it. So we're not going to have a happy family reunion. That person's not going to be a part of my life. And it hurt because I thought maybe there was a part of Mom that was still around that I didn't know about, that, there could be some sort of reconciliation with her side of the family. I was thinking maybe there's one that's normal and she's like the most crazy, twisted one of them all. And that was hard, But no matter what, my mom passing away, no matter what, you don't have to use. And guys, please tell everybody who's new how good you have it. Don't dwell. Don't obsess about the stuff that makes you angry. It's not going to make it any better. There's no value in getting pissed over the things that are making our lives hard. There's no value to it. We get sucked into it. We can't afford the luxury of being negative because we'll believe everything we think, and pretty soon we're back out the door. And we can't do that. We can't do that. We do not have the luxury of wallowing in self-pity. Our book actually says that self-pity is the most dangerous of defects. It will rob us of all the benefits this program has to offer. My life is really good. It's not like I don't have hard times. But from the person that I was when I walked in the door to the person that I am today, you wouldn't recognize me. People don't think I'm an addict. When I'm at work, people don't think I am so square, man. It's awesome. You know what I mean? Like, no one, when I've gotten to a point, here's the gift. I've gotten to a point in my recovery that when I tell people I'm an addict, they don't believe me. Right? They don't believe me. They think I'm making it up, or that, it must not have been that bad. You look like you're pretty healthy there. Well, it's been a while. But the best thing that we can do is let people know the good things that can happen. And I know someone else is going to share, so I'm going to stop, but I want to share a quote. One of my most favorite quotes from an author, and I'm not going to put her out there. If you want to ask afterwards, I'll tell you who it is. But few things have hit me as much as this did when I heard it. And it made me realize that I had been looking at my recovery wrong for a long time and realized that there's nothing bad about me being in Narcotics Anonymous. There's nothing bad. All I have to do is ask the question, what am I missing by not getting high? Ask that the next time you feel like using. What are you missing by not getting high? It's just getting high. That's the only thing you're missing. And if we can remember that, if we can just be honest with ourselves about that and ask those questions, how is NA bad? What's so wrong with being clean? And what am I missing by not getting high? Those are just possibilities of how we can challenge ourselves. Our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, or fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We're all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the amazing capacity that's within us. And it's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. And as we're liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Thank you.
I'm an addict. My name is Mark. Hey, Mark. Arrived here by grace. I continue to stay in Narcotics Anonymous by the mercy of the Almighty God. When people see me and I tell them, I say, I'm an addict, right? They say, no shit, right? They'll never get confused about it. The topic is something about hope manifests into reality. Look, first off, I come from the worst home group in Narcotics Anonymous. I just want to tell y'all that, I know everybody here think they got the best home group. I got the worst home group, all right? You look, the meeting go from 8 to 10. One day the man the chairperson got up at 9:30, said the meeting too goddamn long, and he left. We left with him, right? You say sober in my home group, we put you the fuck out. So if you ever need a real challenge in me, come on over there, all right? Look. You really find out what you're doing, all right? Hope. Before we can even talk about hope, we got to talk about despair. We got to talk about the end of the road, right? At the end of the road, I'm face to face with what I've become. I don't ruin the whole good life. At the end of the road, look, I'm Muslim, and I got a can of everything. I don't spend everything on. I got a can up on the shelf that said Poke. the R don't fell off. It just say poke, right? I ain't even need no, it ain't even pork. I don't know what the hell it is, right? At the end of the road, I ain't got no money, no nothing. I'm sitting there. I got a brand new baby. I'm using it and the baby mama using it. And by some strange set of coincidence, I end up in the other fellowship meeting. The wet one. All right? So I'm sitting there in the wet one, and they talking about the higher powers, and the guy walked up to me and say, "Are you an alcoholic?" And I looked at him like I was insulted. Now this April Fool's Day, 1998. I just got through praying. I just went through all that emotional violence. You know what I'm talking about? When people ask you them strange ass questions on the street, like, why can't you stop using? Like the fuck I know, right? Then people stop saying long sentences when they see you. They start saying one word, like, damn, right? Yeah, right? Then pretty soon people stop using words all together when they see you, and they use that wordless language. Right? We talking about, I'm sitting there, and here I am, I done made my way April Fool's Day to an AA meeting. I'm sitting there, and the man just asked me, was I an alcoholic? And I was insulted. Because I had uncles who were alcoholics. And their idea was they got up in the morning, got drunk, got their ass whooped, by who the hell I don't know, but it was a routine. And they go back home, get up the next day, got that. So the man asked me, you an alcoholic? I said, hell no, I ain't no alcoholic. I'm a dope fiend. I got real proud, right? Shit. Fucking alcoholic. I could nod backwards and shit, right? You know what I mean? Look, I told my look, I can go into a nod like I'm getting ready to go and go into a nod, don't break the crease in my pants, come back up 15 minutes later, say, to the stove, right? You know what I'm saying? So no, I was a dope fiend. By some strange coincidence, they told me, well, you need to go with the other people. I don't know what no other people is. I ain't never heard of Narcotics Anonymous. I'm at the end of the road. I just got through praying to God in a female voice. You remember the movie The Fly? Yeah. You remember when they called him, what he said at the end? Hey, there you right. You know what I mean? I'm praying to God in a female voice, and now I'm in a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. And the first thing I heard them read was who was an addict. It said most of us don't have to think twice about this question. We know that our whole life and thinking was centered in drugs in one form or another. That we live to use and use to live. Then they broke it down. They said very simply, an addict is a man or woman whose life is controlled by drugs. I said, these people done wrote a goddamn book about me, right? Look, they say before coming to the Fellowship of Narcotics, now we could not live and enjoy life like other people do. My life had got so I'd be going back and forth. There was an exercise, and every now and then I'd stop. I'd walk past people's house, and they had the windows open, and then I'd just look at their house like it was TV. They would be doing things like talking to each other, having dinner, watching TV, and I'd be standing there in front of the house with a bag of dope, just looking at it like it's a television show. I knew something was missing, but I didn't know what. So here I am, April Fool's Day, sitting in a meeting. It was Thursday. I didn't use that day. I used Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I went to the meeting on Thursday. I didn't use that day. I used Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I went to the meeting on Thursday. I didn't use that day. I did that one more week. Finally, the next week in the meeting, I asked the guy next to me. I said, what days you stay clean? He looked at me like, he said, all of them. I looked back at him, all of them? We both looking at each other like, all of them, right? He said, what? He said, I do all of them. How the fuck you do? Which was all of them? I couldn't understand. Every day, how? He said, I make a meeting every day, make 90 meetings in 90 days. And I've never used again. I've never been in the treatment, don't know nothing about it. Look, I'm telling you something, that's all I did. And I would go to the meetings and I didn't know nobody because Narcotics Anonymous is a lonely place for the newcomer. So you don't know nobody and ain't nobody in no hurry to meet you and hug you and all that old shit, but we might ask you out for coffee, but don't nobody know you. So I had this thing I would do. It's called the blink eye thing. You know about the blink eye thing, right? You close your eyes in the meeting. You say, wake up with 5 years clean. Then you'd imagine like what 5 years clean look like. Me and my woman at a convention, matching blue jean outfits. Right? Right. Look, new car outside. Right? I got about 4 or 5 rings on my fingers, right? You know what I mean? Look how I do the blink eye thing, you know, because life was hard, right? I still had a woman at home using, right? And that was my escape. I'd go in there and blink eye. And one day I woke up, I asked the guy next to me, I say, what time is it? And the chairperson looked over at me and he said, meeting going on. And the whole meeting turned their head and looked at me. And I felt this small. And that's when the disease started talking. Because Cunning jumped up and said, he said, shut up. Then Baffling said, no. He said, shut your bitch ass up, right? So now I'm sitting in the meeting and the disease is talking to me and the chairperson don't told me to shut my bitch ass up, right? Now I'm ready. It's one of them meetings where ain't nobody got the solution. Everybody sharing about the problems. They coming in me telling me I'm just going to get it off me and I don't care who getting it. And I'm the newcomer and I'm getting it and the man don't told me to shut the fuck up. Now I'm ready to go. I'm ready to leave. Now all of a sudden that little hope I had is gone. Now I'm feeling like I don't belong in Narcotics Anonymous. And the disease is talking to me. And this guy walked in the meeting, jet black with white teethuses. Right? And he came in and he sat down over there on the other side of the room. And he started talking to the guy next to him. So I'm looking at the chairperson. Like, why he ain't telling him to shut the fuck up, right? So now I'm going to become a dry snitch. He didn't turn his head off. Now I'm just straight out snitching. You ain't going to tell him to shut up? He ain't say nothing to the man. The man just started talking to the man he was talking to, started going talking to somebody else. Then all of a sudden that gray, darkless, dry meeting turned into something different. All of a sudden I could hear laughter in the background. All of a sudden I could see people smiling. All of a sudden people started sharing the solution. And I knew then that if I didn't understand the word user. I knew then if I couldn't get high no more, that I at least had to be reasonably happy. I had to be able to smile. So I walked over there and asked that man to sponsor me. I picked my sponsor because he was the only person in the room smiling. He was the only one. And he told me, I've been waiting on you. And I remember him putting me, I said, you going to put me on the symbol like the other people? He said, have you listened to them? Have you heard that? Newcomers sharing about the symbol. Seriously? He said, it's a 12-step program. He said, you don't already diagnose yourself when you figured out that you wasn't bipolar, schizophrenic, dually addicted, that you was an addict. That being an addict and coming in here, you realize you don't wasted a whole life. That you're supposed to be depressed. You're supposed to have anxiety. You're supposed to be resentful and upset with yourself. He told me that that's okay. He said, this is a 12-step program. And he put me on the first step and he talked about this thing inside of me. That there's something within me. Not doing push-ups waiting on me. Not driving a car that old slick shit they say. Something inside of me that makes me unable to control my drug use. He said, look, he said, once I admit that this little bitty tiny thing can take me, do whatever it want with me, that if I take this little thing, I'm done. That's all that first part. He said, second admission must be made in that first step before it's complete. We talk about that untrue or unhealthy belief system I had. Look, I come from that era where I say, I pay the cost to be the boss. Ain't that right, Bob? Then you jack our slacks, right? Once you say that shit, right? I said, what's wrong with that? He said, listen to what you just said. I said, what you mean? He said, you the boss, win-win. You can pay the cost. He said, but when you ain't got no job, who is you in? I said, I don't know. He said, according to you the broad, right? So look, so I'm talking about, I made that mission. But I remember when the first step hit me and I realized that I had messed up my whole life. That I didn't know how to negotiate life. That I ain't had no working skills. I didn't have look, I got my GED in the penitentiary. All right? The man, I had just finished the basic education class. They put me in the GED thing. The man said, we're taking GED test today. I said, oh, I'm fucked. He threw the test on the table and left the room. I said, damn, I'm so happy, right? I hollered out, anybody got number one? I wasn't scared, shit. Nobody else. Anybody got number two? Nobody. I was in the dumbest penitentiary in the world. God damn, we running through the penitentiary, cheating, all calling people home. What's this here? What the hell is in me? And actually, we have no clue. The man came back, we told him his wife called, he ran back out the penitentiary. I said, God damn, this is a good jail, right? We just kept cheating. He come back, got the test. He said, I got a problem when he brought back the results. So what's the problem? He said, you all passed with the same score. You know, he tells somebody, change this and that name. He said, can anybody explain it? Guy got up real smooth. He said, sure. He said, we eat the same food, wear the same clothes, go to bed at the same time. Why wouldn't we all think alike, right? So look, I'm GED, right? And I remember I got nothing, and that boy, the first step, talks about hitting me, and I was just tore up inside. I realized I didn't know how to do anything. I didn't know how to be a father. I didn't know how to be a man, basically. All I knew was the streets and prison. So he tell me he gonna put me on the second step. I said, why? Because I'm insane? He said, no, the second step ain't about that. It's about hope, belief, and possibilities. And he had me write about the unexplainable, remarkable coincidence that he talks about in Works How and Why in the second step. We talking about when I was 5 years old, I had a brother 4. He had peed in the bed in my bed earlier, so he slept in my bed that day. I slept in his. That night the house caught on fire, and he died in my bed. Our second step says, I don't need to know why it happened. I just need to know that it happened. That's right, you heard this before. Yeah. I'm talking about I got another brother. We're inseparable. He's a year older than me. We go out every day. I'm a gangbanger, he's not. One night he said, Saturday, let's go. I said, man, I'm tired. I don't know. I'm not going. I don't know why I didn't want to go. I just didn't want to go. Wasn't no big deal. That night he gets killed in my place. Once again, our literature says, I don't need to know why it happened. I just need to know that it happened. Look, I've been shot twice, stabbed once. I've been put in the trunk and I've put people in trunks. I've been in and out the penitentiaries. And I'm still here. I don't think y'all feel me. I don't think so. Look, I don't think so. You know what? See, right now there's a grown-ass man. Right now in Chicago, on any given corner, he's got a sign. He's got a cardboard box, right? He took this cardboard box and he wrote, please help. This somebody's father. This somebody's brother. It's a grown-ass man. And what do we tell him? Make a meeting. That's each and every one. I don't know. Look, y'all don't feel me yet. Y'all remember when you was caught up? You remember when you was out there on the street, somewhere you had no fucking business being? You remember when you was going to cop and somebody stopped you and started talking to you? Then when you got there, the place was raided? You remember that time the police searched the car and didn't find the drugs? You remember that time you was driving high as hell and then you should have been? Look, y'all still don't feel me, do you? No, they ain't got me yet, man. They gonna get me in a minute, though. Y'all remember what the literature called true addiction? Not that shit we share about now. I'm talking about that shit they say, that never-ending stream of thoughts. Oh, I got to get one. Oh, I got to get one. Oh, I got to get a half of one. I got to get around some people that had one. I just need a little piece of one. Is that one on the floor? Right? You know what I'm talking about? Look, I haven't gotten that one off the floor, right? They say they're off and running. Here comes Mark coming out of the gate at 3/4 lane. Here comes Mark. Mark's going around there, and Mark's the winner. And Mark's going around again and again and again. Mark is still running after getting that first one. Y'all remember all that? Yeah. Look, our literature says we wasn't just lucky. That if you look back over your life, something has always been there for you. That all that night you was out there doing, going back and forth, there's something. Look, right now is a guy, right now, he got his hand tight. He got one. He's just ducking and dodging. Right now, he's scared to death. He gonna get something with him. If you made it to Narcotics Anonymous, Something has always been there. Y'all talk that shit about I earned my seat in narcotics. Now, you trying to tell me that man with the fucking sign didn't earn his seat? That man that is humiliated and degraded, he didn't earn his seat? We didn't earn this. Something brought us here. We were destined to be here. We talking about that hope shot. There's no guarantees, but maybe just possibly I can become a man among men. Maybe just possibly I can become a father among fathers. No guarantees. But possibly you can become a mother among mothers, a woman among women, friend among friends. No guarantees, but the second step gave me something I never had. Possibility. I took my hope shot. I went down there, they told me, my sponsor said, go take the entry exam with your GED. I went in there. I scored elementary school scores on everything but reading comprehension. Only reason I scored high on reading comprehension is I got 13 felony convictions. I kind of learned some words like aggravating and mitigating, right? I kind of figured out which one works best for me, right? You know what I mean? All people that have been arrested know what consecutive and concurrent mean. You know what I mean? Probation and all. We learned some words, right? Look, I remember that. They put me in the class. I said, they're going to put me, I told him, he said, they're going to put me in the slow class. He said, because you slow. I said, I thought it was going to be 4 or 5 people in there. When I got there, it was 40 people. I said, goddamn, the teacher in the English class wrote on the board, Jack ran. What's the noun and what's the verb? Girl jumped up and said, that depends on where the hell Jack running to, right? We was dumb as a box of rocks in that motherfucker, right? We couldn't put a sentence together. I loved it there. I found my new penitentiary school. I would stay there, man. I would stay there, and I would practice my third step, and I'd try to stay near the path. I ain't never been able to stay on it, but I'd stay near the path. When life is good, I'm right here on the path, and I notice I'd like to be just a little bit off it. And sometimes I'd say, fuck it, I'm gonna go just a little bit over here. And then sometimes I look over here and it's getting dark. Right? And I kind of like dark some fucking time, right? Then sometimes I'm way the fuck over here, I'm calling people here. Hey, what's up, man? I'm all fucked up, way over here. And I try to get back to this, man. I remember I went home and I tried to tell the baby mama to stop using. The literature said they can be analyzed, counseled, prayed over, threatened, beaten, locked up. They won't stop till they won't.
That's right.
I said, I'm going to be a hope shot to you. I'm going to analyze you. See how much time I got. Well, you ever beaten as a kid? Write some of this shit down. I'm in school now, right? She said, no. My mother was had her own business. My father was a police officer. I said, you had a father? Right? I didn't have no damn father. I'm like counselor. I got all the books from all the fellowship. She said, I've been in treatment 21 times. I can teach you something. I'm probably related to Bob and Bill. Fuck you. It's something I prayed over. Look, some member told me, said, pray over for 14 days. I ain't know shit about prayer. She'd go to sleep. I'd light candles all around the bed. I was Tina Turner talking about yummy, yum, 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 you know, right? That motherfucker got up on the 15th day and sold the TV, right? I went through the whole thing trying to make her stop. The third step says, all we want in the third step is you to turn over your will. Said, we'll come back later for your life. All we want is that obvious part. I'm trying to make her stop using. I remember I made a decision. I took my baby and I left. And I would do the one ponytail with the bald thing, right? And then one day I seen the other kids at the school daycare. I split it down the middle, kind of, sort of, right? And she had 2 balls, right? I said, fuck this shit, I'm gonna come across this way. And she had 4 balls, right? I said, I got this hair shit. So I broke them 4 up into 8 balls, right? Then the next thing you know, I made her a 16 baller. The school called me. Said, if you do this shit again, we're gonna have you arrested, right? Girl head red and shit, you know? And I took my baby and I would raise her, right? And I work my steps and I do my thing, and you know, and we talking about hope manifested into reality. Y'all know the difference what the 5th step talk about theory versus reality? Do this? I don't think you do. Let me go off key for a minute. Little Johnny goes to his father. He said, Dad, could you teach me the difference between theory and reality? His dad said, yes, son. He said, I want you to go ask your mama, will she sleep with the neighbor for $1 million? Little Johnny looks up at his dad and said, what? My mama's not like that. He said, well, go ask her. He said, my mama. He said, well, go ask her. After some consideration, little Johnny went over to his mama. He says, Mom, would you sleep with the neighbor for $1 million? His mama said, the one with the speech impediment? She said, yes. He said, yes. She said, son, we'll be Mr. and Mrs. Little Johnny goes back and he tells his daddy. Now his daddy said, now I want you to go ask your sister, will she sleep with the neighbor's son for $2 million? He said, I don't know what's wrong with you and my mama, but my sister's not like that. I don't care what's going on, but my sister, I've been with go ask her. Little Johnny goes to his sister and says, sis, would you sleep with the neighbor's son for $2 million? He said, the one with the wobble head, can't keep his head still? She said, yes. He said, we'll be Mr. and Mrs. Bobblehead. Little Johnny goes back and he tells his daddy. Now his daddy looks at me and says, now son, in theory, we have $3 million. But in reality, we living with 2 hoes. Look, I'm gonna talk about what messes with my hope. You know what messes with my hope? What messes with my hope is me. You remember when after 9/11 they started doing these code things, orange color code, and you know the higher the color you got. Remember all that shit, right? And what they would do, what changed the codes, is they would pick up chatter. They hear the word shampoo and airplane. Couldn't nobody bring shampoo no more. That's how my mind works, right? It picks up chatter. I walk in the room, everybody stop talking. Oh, these motherfuckers talking about me, right? Look, I'm saying, I'll be walking by, I won't be on the phone, I hear a couple of words. What the fuck she saying? Look, I got my own place and I got me a wife, right? Wasn't my wife, she was married, okay? But she was my NA wife, okay? And you couldn't tell me nothing. I mean, if you talked to me about my wife, I'd have had fucked your ass. I remember one day, and that's so good, why you need a home group. I'd walk in my home group, and I'd see everybody else. I said, how you doing? But when I got my home group, they could read my face. They knew chatter had got to me, right? And my sponsor asked me, say, what's wrong? I say, she ain't answering the phone. He said, how many days? I said, well, it ain't been no days. What, 12, 13 hours? I said, no, it ain't been that long either, right? What, it been like 5, 6 hours? No, it ain't been no 5, 6 hours. He said, well, how long it been? About an hour, right? He said, well, maybe she with her husband. I said, no, I called him too, right? We're talking about this thing in my head, right?
Oh, my God.
Like we talking about, this true story. This thing in my head, man. You know, look, this drives me. That makes me something I don't want to be. You know what I mean? I'm so sick of the 6 step talk about me being sick of being me. Yeah. Sick of taking all, I have joy in 1 minute and pain in the next. All because of what I think I heard. All because of what I think I felt. All because I think somebody might have said something that they really fucking didn't say. Right. All because of what goes up in here. And the 7 steps said, you want it out. Look, in the first 6 steps, we ain't asked God to do nothing. We admitted some things in the first step. We came to believe in possibilities in the 2nd step, but we didn't ask God nothing. In the 3rd step, we made a decision to change our course, to go with the wind instead of against the wind. But we didn't ask God to do nothing. In the 4th step, we wrote about ourselves. In the 5th step, we talked to God, but we didn't ask God to do nothing. In the 6th step, we got tired of being who we are, and we got ready to ask God to do something. In the 7th step, we're asking God to take this part of me out of me. This part that makes me so insecure, so jealous, so fearful. This self-centered fear that drives me into paralyzation some days. We ask God to do it, and I asked God to do it, and I want him to do it while I'm asleep. I want to wake up one day and be better. But that ain't what happened to me, man. In my 7-step, my sponsor said, the 7-step is the last ditch effort in the manifestation for you to change. That after the 7-step, we're bringing other people in. Right. We're talking about in that 7-step is my last ditch effort, man. That God would allow things to happen to me pertaining to the step I'm in. That's what the literature states. So in the 7th step, I became jobless, homeless, penniless, carless, and womanless. I didn't get womanless. My wife called me. She said, when my husband leaves, I want to talk to you. I said, for real? So I went over there, and my wife tried to quit me. I told my sponsor, he said, what you do? I said, I practiced my 6th step. I got out the way. He said, how you get out the way? I said, I got out the car before she quit me. He said, you got to get in the car and let her quit you. And I looked at him, and I said, well, maybe you never been in love like I've been in love, right? You know, maybe you never felt it. He told me I had to get in the car and let her quit me. That the 7th step said, remember in the 3rd step they said, we'll be back for your life? They've came back. That on the 7th step, we're allowing God to change us. It's a deeper level of faith, a deeper level of surrender. I got back in the car and let her quit me. Guess who I moved back with? Baby mama. Cigarette lighters going off all night, people knocking on the door about where's my money. And I'm sitting there, and I'm asking God, where's the justice in this? But the 8th step says, do you really want justice? Do you really want justice for the time that your mother had to hear from her friend that her son was a dope fiend? Do you really want justice for the time your kids were ridiculed because you were a dope fiend? Do you really want justice for the time that the woman you married and promised God you was going to take care of had to realize you wasn't going to be the man you were supposed to be? You don't want justice. The 8th step is about mercy. The 8th step is about changing the condition of your heart. That this ain't just my disease. That this is our disease. Look, they talk about in the 9th step that we owe. I hear people say, I'm not speaking to my brother. I'm not speaking to my mama. And you in this fellowship? My sponsor told me that the burden falls on the one with the better understanding. I'm going to repeat that. The burden falls on the one in any relationship. The burden falls on the one with the better understanding. So if you in this fellowship, we assume you got the best understanding. If you ain't speaking to your mother because of some shit that happened a long time ago, if you got a brother and you ain't talked to him years and you in this fellowship, if you got somebody you really miss but you still caught up on something and you in this fellowship, I don't think so. The burden fall on you to make it right. Look, I got real good in life. I got my life back together. I was dating in 5 states. You know? I was just everywhere. My sponsor told me to learn how to date, quit taking hostages. You know, I had a great time. You know, and life got good. And one day they called me to the hospital. And he was dying. And he died holding my hand. And he told me, he said, you my best friend. And that's when my life started spiraling. I was trying to be everything. I was, like Smokey Robinson said, I was daylight and darkness at the same time. I would take care of his family and my family, but I got dark in a lot of other areas. My dating got dark. I was dating people I had no fucking business with. They was drunk and I was picking them the fuck up. She drunk ass in the car. Come on, right? My life got real bad and I started losing things. I started losing my job. I started losing cars. I started losing house. I started losing things. And I'm talking about the reality of things. I started losing my reality. And I remember I would get in the shower to cry because I didn't want nobody. I remember doing the 5th step, I was going to cry. My sponsor looked at me and he said, what the fuck is you finna do? I said, well, you know, they say men can cry. He said, not in this family. Go in the bathroom and straighten yourself out. So all that stuck with me. So I'm sitting there and he's dead and I'm trying to make life work. I was supposed to get married and that fool showed up the day after the wedding. Life got just real ugly. Friends was gone. I was alone. And that's how I felt. and I would get in the shower just to cry. And I don't hear God's voice like I hear y'all, like y'all do. I heard my sponsor's voice, and he said to me, which favor? Which favor, Mark? You come from penitentiary, right? Gangs, violence, mayhem, and murder. You come from being uneducated to 2 master's degrees. You come from being not even knowing how to be a father to raising a girl by yourself, 2 of them. Which favor, Mark? Which favor of the Almighty God will you deny? You know, and I quit all that crap. And I got up and started doing my life, man. I started catching up with the reality of it is. The reality of it is I'm not that person that came in here 16 years ago. The reality of it is I'm a damn good father. Look, I got married. My wife got 6 kids. And I didn't have a job. Because God knew if I had a job, I'd have left all 6 of them motherfuckers, right? You know what I mean? Look, I'm talking about the reality of it is, you know, one of them the other day, I've had this one 16-year-old, and she's nothing but a problem. And the other day, I have to every day tell her what to do. The other day, she said some sure enough respectful shit to me. She said, can I do the dishes tomorrow instead of today? She didn't tell me, she asked me. You know, the reality of things is, I'm out here looking for one thing, and Benny Lee come up to me, did the men's rap. He said, Mark, it's a lot of ex-cons don't know how to get clean and stay clean. Would you help me with that? So I spend most of my days with people like me, that were like me. I spent most of my days, a guy come in the other day, he was so happy to be home. I said, how long was you gone? He said, 17 years. I said, well, he doesn't have a clue what to do. And they depend on me to help them. And I don't get paid for none of it, really. You know, but that's the reality of it. Look, my sponsor told me, he said, whatever you do, don't leave Narcotics Anonymous. He said, because something else is coming. He said, Narcotics Anonymous wasn't ready. He said, when we first had the basic text, he said, we was all dope fiends. We was sitting in the meeting, nodding halfway shit, missing nodding. He said, some girl came in, and she ran to the coffee pot real fast. Sat down, went back to the coffee pot again. He said, what the fuck is wrong with her? She kept moving fast. Then a guy came in about a month later, and he was moving fast. Crackhead hit the scene. And Narcotics Anonymous wasn't ready for crack. They wasn't. They didn't know nothing about crack. They had one book, and they started printing all kind of shit. Y'all seen this shit come out. Print some IPs. I don't know what you got printed. We don't give a fuck. Just print. Narcotics Anonymous was not ready for the crack epidemic. Bucket, y'all know what I mean. So look, he said something else is coming. He said, and be here, Mom. He said, don't leave here on a zeal. Don't leave here on nothing else. Stay here. I got the same home group, the worst home group in Narcotics Anonymous. I go in there and they change the format every week. I change it right back, right? Can't miss one. Last night I wasn't there. I know they got some new shit again, right? But I stay here because something else is coming. Yeah. And I had a dream one night. And it was something called Blue. Blue a bad motherfucker, right? People gonna be doing blue. First, their fingertips gonna have just a little blue on it, right? And you're gonna say, damn, why your finger blue? And they're gonna talk real funny, because blue gonna take their voice. I don't know. Right? Then this blue escalates, right? Their fingers and hands all their fingers gonna be blue, right? Then they're gonna have blue in their eyes, right? And then all of a sudden their voice gonna be gone. They're gonna be walking around talking, blah, 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 right? Ain't nobody gonna know what the fuck they doing. They're gonna start breaking in houses and all kind of shit. Blue gonna manifest itself into some real mean reality. And somebody gonna walk in, they're gonna grab their little grandchild or something, they're gonna say, and they're gonna bring them to Narcotics Anonymous. They're gonna say, look, I brought my son here 20 years ago, and y'all helped him. Can you help him too? And we're gonna look at him and say, what's wrong? He gonna say, he gonna say, I'm at the end of the road. And we gonna be able to help him. I thank y'all for allowing me to share.